right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the program, Your Health 360. My name is Jacqueline Adibija, and do you know that when we say Your Health 360, we mean Your Health 360. How are you doing? I do hope that my voice meets you this evening in a good place, health-wise, that is. All right, so while we're waiting for the doctor to come in, a lot of construction's going on, so he's found himself, kind of delayed, but he will be here. Today we'll be talking about COVID-19, the myths and the facts, especially talking about the vaccination. It's been about a year since the COVID-19 was declared a global pandemic by the World Health Organization, the agency that governs health world over. Declared a pandemic, and many of us did not know what hit us. We were flabbergasted, many people thinking, this is it. I mean, this is the end. A lot of people, even as we speak, struggling with depression. And so it was with joy, of course, when the world started hearing that there might be a light at the end of the tunnel, vaccines. There was fast tracking of vaccines, a lot of people saying, look, we need to do something. And people were actually sleeping in the laboratories across the world, trying to get, that perfect balance, trying to do that thing that would be able to allow me and you socialize once again, go out whenever we want to go out without a face mask and, just get our lives back. And on the 2nd of March this year, Nigeria had its first batch of vaccines come into the country. A lot of countries right now, as we speak, I think we have well over between 10 to 12 vaccines that have been developed by different nations, different companies already. There are some that are more popular than others, but there are quite a number of them out there. Before I go ahead, let me quickly remind us that we're actually live on Facebook, so you can actually go there and ask whatever questions that you want to ask. But moving on to what I wanted us to briefly, or at least just sample how we feel about this vaccine and the fact that it brings hope, that we can actually go back to living our lives the way that we have been living it or had been living it before COVID-19 came into the world to make this something that has really disrupted not just our social lives, but also the economy. I was actually going to open up the phone lines to ask. Let me do that quickly because my doctor is here, but I would like for him to settle down first, and then we'll get to him. But before then, let me quickly hear from 4 people. The vaccines are here. Have you taken yours? Kaduna has taken delivery of the vaccinations. Don't worry, it will get to as many of us that want to take it. But the question I want to ask this evening and hear from about 4 people before I come back to the doctor is, would you take the vaccine as is? So let's go quickly, see how many people can call us before then. If not, I quickly introduce the doctor. But the lines are open, 081 40,000 989 and 070 800 989. Once again, that's 081 40,000 989 and 070 800 989. If no calls are coming in, let me quickly welcome my doctor in the house, Dr. Joseph Emmanuel. Okay, I have a call coming in. Let me take it. Would you take this vaccine?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Would you take the vaccination?
This Andy calling from Kakuri.
You're welcome. Would you take the vaccine?
My question is that how are they going to make it possible for the let me say for the common man to get it? How are they going to make it possible for the common man to get it? That's
so what?
question.
So you have a question, but I'm asking you one. Before you go, would you take it? If you get the vaccine, would you take it?
Yes, if I think if yes, if they bring it to me, I'll be
You'll
able to,
take it.
I'll get it.
Okay, great. All right, so that's a
Yeah.
good one. Thank you very much. And with that, let me welcome Dr. Emmanuel Joseph to the studio. You're welcome, Dr. Joseph. It's good to have you here.
Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome. We're talking COVID 19, the myths and the facts this evening. Okay, so I see some people calling. Let's take another call because I want to get a feel of what we're talking about today. Good evening. Who is on the line? We're connected. Good evening. Okay. I guess you couldn't hear us, but let's go ahead. Now, Dr. Joseph Emmanuel, once again, you're welcome. Let's just go
Thank you.
straight to it. Talking about COVID 19, the myths and the facts,
Yes.
I would like to ask that how many types of vaccines do we have right now as is? I know we have quite a number of them. As a matter of fact, I was surprised to learn that we have about close to 10, 12 of them that are some already approved, some others still in trial, right?
Yes. Broadly speaking, we have the three types of vaccines. We have the life vaccine, the attenuated, life attenuated vaccine, the mRNA, and then there's the third class.
Okay, so but it doesn't matter. Question is, which one did Nigeria take delivery of? Which one are we using?
We have the Pfizer antiviral vaccine. It's it's an mRNA type. It's a novel vaccine. It's newly. I think this is the first time such is being used.
Okay, so what we have in Nigeria is the Pfizer vaccine, not the Astrazeneca vaccine.
Sorry, the Astrazeneca vaccine.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, because I do know that the Pfizer vaccine needs to be stored in conditions that are
Yes.
pretty cold. I hear
Yes.
almost as cold as Antarctica, and that's saying something for a weather like ours. So I was surprised when you said Pfizer.
No, sorry, my bad.
Okay, so it's the AstraZeneca
Yes.
vaccine.
Yes.
All right, so the AstraZeneca vaccine, is it a one dose vaccine or are we talking two doses?
No, it's actually two doses.
A two dose
Yes.
vaccine. Okay, so why are we going for a two dose vaccine when we already have problems, like trying to reach as many people as possible? And then we'll have to redose the people who have already been dosed. Was that a good one to take? Are there any? Okay, so many questions around this. Are there vaccines that are single dose apart from the Pfizer? I think the Pfizer is a single
No,
dose.
it's the Johnson and Johnson that is a single dose.
The Johnson and Johnson
Yes.
is the only one that is a single dose
For
right now.
now.
For now.
Yes, there are other still in the pipeline. The the argument remains even your Johnson and Johnson, which is a single dose. It it a, it is believed that a second dose, a booster dose, will confer more immunity. Um, the action is based on what's it called now? Memory cells. The immune system has its own memory cells. So it's just like when we learn. If I keep repeating something to you, you tend to pick it more. So the body does something similar to that, and um, it's it remembers more. So the second dose, which is the booster dose, confers immunity, better
So
immune.
even for the Johnson and Johnson, it's actually it's 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 recommended that you take a booster dose. That's what
No,
you're
it's
saying.
actually a single dose, but when we extrapolate we believe we'll get. I think the Johnson & Johnson has one of the lowest um, immune response in the ones already in the market. I think there are about 6 or 8 of them now in the market, and we hypothesize that a second booster dose would actually give you a stronger immune response.
Okay, so Nigeria has the AstraZeneca. So far, what we've learned from you, it's taken delivery of the AstraZeneca. We'll be running with the AstraZeneca vaccine,
Yes,
and it's a vaccine that needs 2 doses.
yes.
How many days apart or weeks apart?
No, it's within 10 to 14 days.
Between 10 to 14 days. So let's just say about 2 weeks apart, right?
Yes,
Okay,
actually 10.
10 days. 10 days apart.
Yes.
Okay. So what we're hearing about 2 to 3 weeks apart in other places, it doesn't apply to us. You
No,
know.
it's 10 to 2 weeks,
Okay, so
14
it
days.
depend. It's not a strict. It must be after 10 days. You can actually have that timeline. Is that
Yes,
what you're saying?
yes.
Okay. So the next question I would like to ask is, there are enough concerns in different countries about the AstraZeneca vaccine particularly. There are so many countries: Austria, Estonia, Latvia, Italy, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Denmark, Norway, and Iceland. These countries that I've called have either halted temporarily or permanently. They've asked that that the vaccination schedule or whatever against COVID-19 should be using another vaccine and not AstraZeneca. And this is because they found that some patients developed blood clots after
Being
taking
administered, yes.
after the administration of the vaccine. Is this something that we should be concerned about?
Well, we'll go back to the patients. There was a nurse who, I think 24 hours or so after she had her vaccine, she developed clots and then she died. Now, in drug release, there are what we call adverse effects that we see post release to the public. So it's not as if Estonia or any of those other European countries have actually stopped. Nobody has fully stopped. It has just been, um, what's it called now? It has just been halted for the time being while further investigations go. But from what the data, they're just being extremely cautious. But the data we have in front of us, those blood clots look more or less like incidental findings. They are not 100%. You cannot really pin them down to what's it called now, the vaccine itself. People generally have issues with blood clots, maybe given your age, your occupation, and your lifestyle that might predispose you to that. So we have looked at the data, and um, those who receive the vaccine and then the general population, there is no statistical difference in the presentation, and these are incidental findings. We have not had it replicated like in the UK, for example, where it was where it's being used mainly. We don't have such, or there has not been such issues reported. We know that you take the virus at the site of injection, there might be a little pain, swelling, fever, but life-threatening reactions, adverse reactions like the blood clots you've mentioned, we have not seen that really.
So you don't think that there should be some concern, seeing as how each of those patients that have died have actually been as a result of a blood clot lodging somewhere, either in the heart, in
No,
the
no, no.
lungs, something. We have about 22 patients that have actually been, post mortem has shown that it was due to the clotting. And I just feel like if the people, these European countries are concerned enough to say, why don't we just halt on AstraZeneca? We could continue on some others, but for the meantime, let's see, try, findings, like you said. I'm just wondering, is there something that prevents us
No, there's
from
actually nothing that
reacting?
does prevent us from reacting that way. Um, we 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 are following strict protocols. Now, some of the countries you called out, I think Estonia doesn't have a case. They just acted um,
They were preemptive, yes.
preemptively. They acted, and we also have that prerogative. But it's not as if we are not aware of it, or we are not being studying the the developments. We are, and it is a big reason for concern. Um, the 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 premises on which we are making bold to proceed is that these findings so far we have not found them in any way that makes it how do I put it? We have not found it to be positively linked to
To the vaccine.
to the vaccine itself. So yes, we are moving with caution. We are monitoring all those who have received the vaccine. If you get the vaccine, we make sure that we have what we have channels where you can report such adverse effects, no matter what it may or may not be. So these are the these are the issues on ground, and like I said, um, so far the safety profile, at least pre-release and post-release, doesn't directly point to it being the cause of that. It's just like, for example, myself and you, we are arguing, and then you tell me that I'll kill you, you die, and then I fall down and I die. You might have said those words out of anger. You might have intended to do that, but maybe pre pre um, you and me having that argument, I had a condition. Maybe I had a heart condition or something, and it now manifests itself. So these are that is how we are looking at it. But yes, it is a cause for concern. Um, you called a number, you said 22. One person, it's reason enough to stop the rollout. One person. But the argument we have now is that so far we have not seen a direct link uh,
Between the vaccine
between the
and these
vaccine
deaths.
and these deaths. So that is why we say yes. For now, we are moving with caution, and we are also observing people. So that is where
Where we're at
we're
right
at
now.
now. Yes.
Okay, so another myth that I've come across is, or misconception, is that there's some grand master plan to depopulate, especially developing countries like we have in Africa, Nigeria included. These vaccines are going to come and disrupt the reproductive system of the African nations, especially, and maybe probably some other Asian countries. And it was amazing for me to even find out that these concerns have permeated to even blacks and other minorities in developed countries. And so we have low uptake amongst blacks and Asians, even in places like the UK, the US. They're not in a hurry to take this vaccination because of a lack of trust. And then when you ask about the underlying problem, people will tell you that, look, there is a plan to depopulate, and that is why people are being vaccinated, just so that probably people will not be able to reproduce at the rate that they've been reproducing hitherto. How would you address that?
Well, the the it's a very hard issue to to um, to address. But we keep with the science and then we stick with the facts. Um, this is not the first vaccine that we have received, and it wouldn't be the last. I think some years back, if you remember, we had the polio vaccine debacle where some it went as far as a state governor then stopping the rollout of the polio vaccine, which
We
of
still had the same. In fact, the same situation has played out now.
yes, we also have like one or two um,
Governors.
governors who feel that personally they feel strongly that COVID doesn't exist, the vaccine is just whatever. So it's a very hard um, issue. It's a very hard topic to really
Address.
address and talk to people. But you see, most of these claims, if you ask them, what is your proof or what do you have to say, this is pointing to this or this is pointing to that, it is very, very hard to this. And these are mostly online. This it's even worse with the francophone countries than with the anglophone countries. We have more acceptance of the vaccine and whatnot. But when you look at these things, somebody just gets up and says they want to depopulate us, they want to do this, they want to do that. There are a lot of funny things. You hear things about the vaccine being microchipped and all whatnot. Yes, we'll agree that this is the first time we're using mRNA vaccines on human population, but it is what we have been using for most of our, what they call them now,
Animals.
animals. We have been using it for years, and well, the way the virus, the pandemic came upon us and whatnot, there was that extra push, and that was one of the means of addressing this issue. Um,
Is there any one of the vaccines that use the old system?
yes, there are.
Which one of those ones used the old system?
I'm trying to
Okay.
remember.
Okay, but AstraZeneca certainly used
Is
the
no.
latest way
Yes.
of
Yes.
protecting
Yes.
the body. Okay, so another thing I've heard from people is why the rush? How come we've been living with cancer, living with diabetes, living with high blood pressure? No one has found a vaccine against all those deadly diseases. And then COVID-19 comes across, not even Ebola, not Lassa fever. And then all of a sudden, COVID
Sorry,
19.
let me. We have a vaccine for Ebola.
Okay, so Ebola got a vaccine.
Yes.
All right. So I've heard people say we have deadly diseases. We have cancer. Just reel out anyone. Your pick is as good as mine, and we have not had the kind of rush that we have seen as against COVID-19 being eliminated or getting us immune to the spread of COVID 19 like we have seen. We've not seen for those ailments like we've seen for COVID 19. Why the rush for COVID 19? How would you respond to someone asking you that?
Well, there were so many factors involved, and one of the factors is actually economic. Um, what happened last year, March? I think about this time. That was when we started seeing the lockdowns, and it started having the attendant negative effects on people's lives, the economy, and whatnot. And we also saw a situation where there was a virus that really got the world rattled. People were scared. You didn't know what to do. Okay, would somebody looking at you get you infected, or is it the air you breathe alone? Is it by contact, touch, whatever? So um, there was a lot of speculation, a lot of crisis, and um, you hear people say the next crisis is a big opportunity. So this is one um, crisis or pandemic. Yeah, another thing was most of these other diseases you've called, they never brought the world to its knees. HIV, yeah, it was global, or it is global, pardon me. But HIV doesn't kill you off as quickly as COVID can. You get someone gets infected today, by next week the person is dead. So it's deadlier since it has the ability to kill you rapidly. So there was obviously that push, and a lot of researches were actually ongoing on various this thing. We should not talk as if it's only just the vaccine. There are a lot of things that we had revelations, drugs, preventive methods, and so many things. And we also fell back on a lot of things we were doing in the past, things we were using to protect ourselves for Ebola, Lassa, and the likes. We used them with COVID 19. So yes, the 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 demand has been high. It's simple. That push was there, and yes,
So you're
people.
saying for economic reasons
No,
and for the
not
fact
just
that
economic.
this affected the whole world.
This affected the whole
So
world.
there was that united push to find
Yes,
to find
humanity was brought to its knees, and we all stepped up, and everybody put in his or her best, one way or the other. More so, this is not the first coronavirus we've dealt with. We have MERS, we had SARS 1, we have the common flu. They're the same family of viruses. Um, in the US, where the common flu is a big issue for them, probably their weather and whatnot, it's almost on a yearly base that they have to develop new vaccines for it. So it, it was just a lucky break.
a lucky break.
Yes.
All right, quickly before we go on a commercial break, then when you take the vaccine, can you stop using your mask?
No.
Okay. Why is that?
Most vaccines, um, one, will not give you full protection till maybe 14 to 22 days after the second shot. And even though you take the vaccine, it we are not sure if it stops you from transmitting it to others. The vaccine actually is like personal protective equipment where you put on your face mask, you are protecting just yourself, not yet the next person per se. It's mostly yourself. Yeah, the face mask can protect the next person, but basically, it is more of you protecting yourself. Um, we are not too sure about um, how much the virus will be transmitted from a vaccinated person to the next. But what we know for certain is it confers you with that immunity which is protective and which will help. We've heard the talk about herd immunity. The more people that get it, the better. Because once the virus doesn't have the ability of replicating in people's bodies, it will die off naturally. We've seen it with a lot of other diseases, and
So after you take your first dose, seeing as how AstraZeneca, the vaccine we're using,
yes,
is in two doses, you take them like 2 weeks apart. When you take the first dose, you continue to wear your mask. You take your second dose. After about 2 weeks, you can let your mask go, or do you continue to wear the
no,
mask?
you can. That's what I said. I said we are not so certain 100%. We can't stick our necks out and say that after you've collected this
The
vaccine,
second dose.
yes, the
Okay.
second dose,
Hmm.
you will not transmit to others.
Because you have a little bit of the virus in you
You
now.
could, no, not a little bit of the virus. You could still get infected.
Even after the second dose?
Yes, you could still get infected, but the difference is um, those without the vaccine and those who get infected after being vaccinated, the cause of the disease is usually very mild. Mostly you might not know, or you might just present with very mild symptoms. So that's the main difference. So we do know that those on the vaccine have a better immune response because basically that is what the vaccine
Is it
does.
going to be a yearly vaccine like the flu shots that people get, the flu vaccines that people get in places like the United States of America? Or is this going to be one time fits all?
For now, we cannot say 100%. If you look at the flu shots you talk about, mostly I made a statement earlier. I said that the flu shots every year a new combination of vaccine has to be rolled out. Most times, it has to not every year, but almost on a regular basis. Now, why is that? Most of these viruses have the ability to mutate. If you follow the latest news, we have the UK version, we have the Brazilian version, the South African version, and they have shown resistance to some of these vaccines being given. I think the South African variant is highly resistant to the Moderna vaccine and whatnot. So, um, and that is the challenge we have here. If we can get as much people as possible vaccinated, we stand the chance of stopping it dead in its track. But the more pockets of people we have in with what's it called now, unvaccinated, the more likelihood that more and more mutations would occur. So
And
uh,
that we don't want.
that we don't want. So when you talk about vaccination, we encourage as many people as possible to actually take it. It's not for anything, but we need to contain this what's it called now? This virus and put things in order.
You're listening to Dr. Joseph Emmanuel with us in the studio. Let's go on a quick commercial break, and when we get back, the lines will be open immediately for you to ask whatever question or whatever myth, whatever misconception you might not even know is a misconception, but you get to ask him those questions right after this break. Stay with us. We're talking about COVID-19, the myths and the facts. Your Health 360, only on Invicta 98.9 FM with Jacqueline Adedija. All right, thank you for staying with us. Still with Dr. Joseph Emmanuel in the studio and talking about COVID-19, the myths and the facts. And so before I open up the phone lines, already the lines are buzzing. A lot of people want to talk to you. So I think we could talk about what the types of vaccines, what AstraZeneca really is and how it differs from the other vaccines that are popular. Can you do that quickly or do it? Let's take this call, please. I think the people need to really, really hear from you. There's so many myths and misconceptions out there. Unfortunately, the call got dropped. So, okay, we have another one, and I haven't even called out the numbers, but for the sake of those who don't know the numbers are 081 40,000 989. That's 081 40,000 989 and 070 87 800 989. 070 87 800 989. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Sister Jacqueline.
You're welcome. Your name and your question.
This is Mr. Godwin.
Mr. Godwin, you're welcome. Go ahead.
I want to greet the dog in the house there.
Good evening, sir.
Please, I find it difficult to accept all of this. I want to ask the doctor, though I know he's not the one who is speaking on behalf of WHO. He's a practitioner in medicine. But can he throw more light on the fact that a sickness like COVID-19, at first, we the laymen thought the vaccine is going to protect or stop the transmission. So if there's stop transmission, then of what importance or use is it to us? Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So thank you for your question. Still taking your calls this evening. I'm sure you'll take that down and then respond when we come back to you. All right. Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
You're welcome.
Hi, Doc.
You're fine. Thank you for asking. Go ahead with your question.
Okay. Talking about this vaccine,
Hello, sir. Your line isn't clear. Hello.
can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead,
Can you
sir.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The doctors advise us to eat a good, balanced diet. It will work in our system. It will work in our body. I hope you are hearing me.
Yes.
Okay. Now, talking about this vaccine, the essence of vaccine, like hepatitis and the rest of other sickness that want to go for vaccine. When you take the vaccine, you are expected to be free from such, even if you have contact with the people that are suffering of that same problem. But COVID-19 case is not the same. So me as a person, if the vaccine is twice, and you are still prone to contracting this thing, that you see go, you're supposed to do it there to put on a face mask. It's not what's going on because I have
Okay,
a
so
daughter I work with.
your question is why are we not fully protected even after taking the full dose, right? Okay. All right, because your voice keeps fading in and out, so I just needed to get your point clear.
Can,
Thank.
but, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but your voice keeps going in and out. So let's take other calls now since we've gotten your question.
Okay, let me.
All right. Thank you
Okay, no
very
problem.
much. All right. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, Jackie.
You're welcome.
And good evening to the doctor.
Yeah, evening, sir.
In fact, we appreciate this enlightenment on this COVID-19. In
Introduce
fact,
yourself properly.
my name is Comrade Gabriel, the Texas man.
All right, Comrade Gabriel, you're welcome. Go ahead quickly.
So, in fact, we appreciate your effort and the enlightenment from the doctor. But, sometimes because of the comments from some of our leaders, like some of the governors and others, that is why many of us are having double mind or doubting. But with what the doctor is saying now, I think it is for our own good. And definitely, many of us, including me, definitely I'm prepared to even take the vaccine because that's
Okay.
the only
That's
option.
nice.
But what we are begging is that since we say we have so many types of this vaccine, is there any way that we'll be able to, because since the Americans, for example, I heard that they give over 30 million people, nothing happened in that very place. Is it possible for us to get the correct one if this one does not work, the one you have now? Thank you, sir.
All right. So I think a question that he's asking is it all of the vaccines that have the same issue, or are there some that when you take them, you can actually stop using your mask and you have
All
full
right.
prevention? All right. Let's take one more call and then I'll come back to you, Dr. Joseph. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
You're welcome. Your name?
My my name is Mohammed Adamu. I'm calling from Kankumi.
You're welcome, Mohammed. Go ahead, please.
Please, I want to ask what about this vaccine? Is it the government can provide it even to the local area?
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
That's my question.
So Mohammed is asking, how are the people at the grassroots going to get this vaccination? I think I should come back. Please try to answer as shortly as you can so that we can go back because there's so many people calling.
All right. Thank you. Sorry, I earlier made an erroneous statement, and I want to correct that. I was a bit flutter. I actually came late. I was a bit off. Sorry about that. The Astrazeneca is a viral vector um, vaccine, which is using a modified virus to deliver the um, antigenic material, which now stimulates the immune system. Now, I think the first caller made mention about efficacy. He said that why would you take the vaccine and you still have to carry on with safety precautions? Um, I will, and I think I would answer most of the other callers' concerns about the safety and efficacy of the um, vaccines. Now, we I will use what mostly we mostly know. BCG for tuberculosis, and then the Salk and Sabin virus vaccines for polio. Um, we You hear what we call the wild polio vaccines and whatnot. Once we give the vaccines, we still have cases of persons who receive these vaccines still coming down with the disease. So, as far as we know, there are no vaccines that are really there
100%
with 100%. You
preventive.
still have some breakaway. In medicine, we never say never. It could happen. Um, these vaccines you see, they, let me not go too high, but they act on different means they act on production, they stimulate the production of antibodies. They also stimulate the um, proliferation of what we call memory cells, killer cells that actually go and attack the virus. The antibodies just kill them off. Um, so that has improved what we have. Um, the vaccine we're currently using is, yes, as rightly said, from the WHO. The government is also trying to procure other vaccine candidates. I think there are a lot of them. There's the Sputnik 2, the
From
Sino,
Russia, the one
yes,
from China.
China, then the Pfizer vaccine. So they are trying to to get that. But we we have confidence in the
AstraZeneca.
AstraZeneca because it covers most of the subtypes of the virus we have prevalent in our environment. Um, for those, how will you be able to gain access to this vaccine? Um, we are working nationally and then with the states, the various states. We're using the primary healthcare system. We know that these are facilities that are closer to you and easier to get through. So we flagged off the vaccination day before yesterday. The some of our colleagues took, and the governor, and then of course today we also gave frontline workers, those in the isolation centers and whatnot, and hopefully by Monday we will further cascade it to the general public. So there are, sorry, I don't have the links, but you can actually get the link online. Maybe I'll get it and I'll um, bring it up.
Hopefully, we'll have you back. So, just because we're running out of time, just so we're sure. So that means that the governor and all those who took yesterday will be taking their other doses in a
Definitely.
few
And
days time,
nothing bad has happened to
and
them.
nothing bad has happened to them. So, when you get to go to your PHC, the nearest PHC for a
Yeah.
vaccination, is there anything that you need to tell the people? If you have an underlying condition, for instance, do you tell the person who is about to administer that, I have BPO or I have diabetes or I have, do you, is there anything that, might preclude you from being a candidate?
Normally, with most vaccines, if you have, for example, a febrile ailment, you
When
you
you
are,
say
sorry,
febrile,
sorry, let me
where
use
you need
English.
exactly, please,
When you are running a high
a
temperature,
temperature, right? Okay,
sorry, I've been avoiding using our terms.
okay.
My bad. You definitely are not advised to take it. Then you have to sort that out first. Secondly, if you have allergies, you you say it. Even for example, when you,
Doc, we've run out of time, so you
okay,
just chop, 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 30 seconds,
all
and we
right,
have to go.
all right. So you speak on your allergies, and then well, your age. These vaccines have not been tested on children, and of course the very elderly, because of the fears and concerns that we have. So that may make you not access the vaccine. So
So children from the age of 18 downwards,
16 down.
16 downwards, not yet candidates for the
Yes,
vaccination. What about 65 upwards? You still can take,
you can take. We have people who have taken above
taken within that age
age
bracket.
bracket, but we don't have too much data
All
for
right.
now.
We have to go, but because we're rolling this out already in Kaduna State, hopefully we'll have you back again next week to come, update us on what is going on as regards the vaccination schedule in Kaduna State, how well people are receiving this, and what we need to do more to ensure that, we get as many people vaccinated as possible. Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph
Thank you,
Emmanuel, for
Jackie.
being here. My name is Jacqueline Adebija. Until next week, I see the lines buzzing. Forgive us. The time just flies by. And so hopefully next week we'll have more information at local level. The information we have now about this vaccine, a lot of it is from outside the country. But next week, hopefully, we'll have more local information because after all, that's what concerns us. We'll be hearing how the governor is faring. Hopefully, the governor himself will even
he's doing very well.
address the issue. And a lot of people, I'm sure that will put the minds of a lot of people at rest. Well, until next Friday, remember to continue to wear your mask. Let's keep each other safe. Wash those hands. We'll get through this. Stay safe.